Thank you.
Well, I believe it's to the following of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this meeting, we're going to have some discussions with insurance company about vehicles and whatnot. I guess Carrie, if you guys want to come up.
Okay. Well, I think everybody knows the gentlemen that are with me, but I'll reintroduce. This is Mark Ennis, the risk manager from Bliss McKnight. I'm Terry Block from First Choice Insurance, and this is Connor Cox, also from Bliss McKnight. We're here today because we had some questions posed to us about if there was coverage for non-employee passengers and vehicles, and or if there were the best way to handle that situation, whether you want that to happen or you don't want that to happen. So we felt like it was best to have a discussion so that you can make a decision of how you want to handle that moving forward as far as the insurance implications of allowing or not allowing that to happen. So I will let these gentlemen kind of take over as far as how the coverage is affected, where the coverage would or would not come from in those type of situations. Connor, do you want to?
Sure. Do we just want to kind of start with some questions? You guys go in and kind of judge what your thoughts are on it.
My biggest thing, and not speaking for everybody, but I think that, of course, it's the money factor, is having extra people in the vehicle going to cost the county more. That's not an county employee.
But from a premium standpoint, like us charging you more money, no. I think I would want to caution that the more people you allow to operate in county vehicles in the event of an accident, it's that while we will pay for it, depending upon the type of accident, it's ultimately going to cost the county more money, just because you're opening yourself up to more risk, more bodily injury, more types of claims that way. But as far as premium dollars, no, we're not going to charge you more.
I'm not talking driving, I'm just talking right.
Yes.
It's talking like family members or just anybody.
Yes.
Do some counties have riders that enhance that coverage just in case? That way it minimalizes liability and risk later, or?
It's not, I don't know of any insurance products that do something like that. And I guess, so because of the nature of auto accidents, you know, and we have maybe one party at fault, another party not at fault, or both parties share in liability, we don't necessarily know who's going to pay for what. But when you have a employee, or excuse me, a passenger who is not a county employee, and the driver of the county vehicle is at fault in an accident, you as the county are first responsible for those injuries. And now you do have coverage for that, but obviously that goes against your auto loss history, which drives your premium. And your auto, what you're paying for your auto coverage right now is high. And I would say it's higher in comparison to other counties because of the loss history.
Have we ever had a claim though? Because my concern after talking to you, Carrie, was not so much people riding on the cars. It was just generally that our claims are way up again. And how can we remedy that? I know we have our risk meetings coming back. You know, that's really important. But in the past, we've instituted things like making sure write-ups are happening when, you know, people have accidents, making sure that driver's training is timely and done, you know, all those kind of things. And so I thought we would go that direction more, but I do have a question on those lines as far as the passenger. Have we ever had a claim because of a passenger riding?
We have not that I can recall, Dave, that we had a passenger in a vehicle that had an accident that was injured, not to this date. that I have seen.
I just looked at the losses before I came here today and reviewed them, and I did not see anything in there where there was a passenger injured in a vehicle. A non-employee.
So I mean, as far as risk analysis is concerned, like if we're talking about that, it sounds like the risk of that type of a claim is low, although the other claims. Accidents is obviously too high, because I will throw one other thing out there is that we're talking about, I think, maybe family members. Which I could see for employees, that might be unavoidable sometimes. Somebody has to drop their kid off or something like that. And I believe that's why we had it in our handbook that we allowed it. I don't remember what the wording is. But the other thing is, for example, the planning commission, the head of the planning commission, like he might have people that need to write or they're going to a site to do an inspection. In fact, that's why I believe the commissioners allowed him to buy a four-door vehicle was just for that purpose, just in case, it isn't often. So what about departments though that have business that requires them possibly to have somebody ride with them too? I think that's an important question to raise.
Here, I'm Todd, Gary.
Yes,
We have a conversation about that,
yes,
about, a planning commission board member, they consider employee. But they are, as far as our liability goes, the way you explained it to me.
yes, correct me if I'm wrong, but the board members that are working for you or committees.
Yeah.
When they're working on the behalf of Stark County, out of the scope of duties that you have assigned them, they are insured under our.
So that's-
contract.
What about like the state fire marshal is riding with the planning commissioner, state inspector, or the state EMS is riding with
They probably won't even ride.
Jim.
really.
Yeah, he does. Anyway.
I mean, it's fairly common for them to ride with those folks. To need to do
Well,
that.
I was supposed to correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like those folks are in the scope of their own employment, and so their own work comp coverage would
Exactly.
pay for something like that.
They're not employees, and then, of course, they would be covered by the state as far as their workers' comp if they're state employees, for example.
It's like,
If they're working for some private corporation, they should have their own workers' comp, like if they were to be injured in an accident.
like NDOT or the counties I work with in my job, they're not riding with them, and you're not riding with them.
Mhm.
Because that's their policy,
Mhm.
Right, and I think that's what,
I mean-
you as the boards have to decide, where you want that, level to be, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and so
Oh.
that everyone is following the same procedures.
So is there a difference in the insurance premiums? Obviously, there is a risk if the vehicles are take home. What about if all the vehicles are made to stay here?
Go ahead.
I don't think there would be any premium
Okay.
consideration.
How about GPS tracking on the vehicles to monitor their speed and everything else? That make any difference?
It doesn't make a difference. There isn't like a specific discount that we would be applying. But when your account is reviewed each year for renewal, we take into consideration all of the things that the county is doing to reduce risk. So, we take into consideration any kind of safety features that you're using when Bliss McKnight is re-underwriting the account for the upcoming renewal, which.
One thing we would look at too is if you're doing driver's training or you're doing, if you have this is more on the work comp side, but if you make sure you have a seatbelt requirement, things like that. Things, if we can show, like to our underwriting department that you're doing things proactively to try to prevent this from happening. Of course, and especially since your loss history on autos has not been doing real well. So, we want to try to help you turn that around. So.
So,
Thing,
Yep.
like Todd had mentioned, so we got a couple of take-home vehicles, and then like Dave said, if they drop their kids off. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like the take-home's got a little more priority, I mean, not priority, but where we've allowed that before. That's something we should stop.
I think, I don't want to say yes or no, but, because I certainly don't want to tell you what to do.
Right.
But I will say, for somebody who is not covered under work comp, if they are to be injured, I would say those claims are considerably higher.
Okay.
And when there's BI,
that's just bodily injury.
and there's litigation involved, that can be a huge claim. But again, you as an employer also have to kind of balance work life
Right.
and different things like that. And I do want to say you do have coverage or something like that, or there might
But
be. a
we're at
couple.
risk.
Yes,
What do you see other counties doing?
Hang on a second, if you don't mind. Teresa just said Mike can't get in. I guess I didn't go in on the meeting she created. I started a new one, so she's gonna have to stop it and go back in. If you wanna, I'm sorry.
My hero, Teresa.